The Iran-backed Houthis have launched a fresh challenge to MBS emerging Islamic NATO as deadly strikes hit Saudi-backed forces in Yemen's Marib province. Yemen has erupted once again as the Houthis claimed a new wave of attacks targeting Saudi-backed forces amid rising tensions across the region. Houthi strikes hit Marib on August 7th, reportedly killing 2 civilians and wounding 14 others in the latest deadly escalation. A number of drones were reportedly shot down by air defenses over Marib as authorities scrambled to contain the latest Houthi attack. Yemeni Armed Forces statement read, and I quote, "In its insistence on continuing the siege of our people and escalating its aggression against our country, the Saudi enemy continues to mobilize, incite, and push its forces into the inferno of a futile and losing war of aggression. Therefore, after careful monitoring of the movements of its forces and mercenaries, these forces, along with their depots, vehicles, and military equipment, were targeted at the San al-Jin camp. By the grace of God, these were precise and effective strikes using a large number of missiles and drones. The Yemeni armed forces are continuing to confront escalation with escalation, and affirm that they will strike hard against any mobilization or force brought by the Saudi enemy to keep the siege imposed on our country. The armed forces affirm their continued commitment to the 2 equations, siege for siege and targeting aggressive Saudi mobilizations wherever they may be, and will not allow the aggressive plans against our country to pass without an immediate and severe response. We reiterate our advice to those misled and deceived among our people to leave the Saudi enemy camps and return to their homes before it is too late. We urge them to hasten to save themselves and not become fuel for treacherous entities that have mortgaged their fate to foreign powers, trading in them and their blood for the sake of foreign occupation and expansionist projects at the expense of the security, sovereignty, and independence of the Republic of Yemen. We salute with pride the noble tribes of Marib and the honorable, free people for standing with their people against occupation and subjugation. We affirm to them and to all the tribes of Yemen that we stand with them and are with them to reclaim our people's just rights and lift the siege imposed upon them. God is sufficient for us, and He is the best of guardians, the best of protectors, and the best of helpers. Long live Yemen, free, dignified, and independent. Victory to Yemen and to all the free people of the nation." Unquote. Yemen's conflict is taking a dangerous new turn as the strikes send a fresh warning to Riyadh and raise fears of wider regional escalation. The Houthis are once again flexing their missile and drone capabilities as Saudi-backed targets come under attack in the strategically important Marib region. Marib has emerged as the latest flashpoint in Yemen as renewed fighting fuels concerns that the conflict could spill into a much wider regional confrontation. The deadly attack comes at a sensitive moment, with Saudi Arabia pushing diplomacy and regional de-escalation while tensions with Iran and its proxies remain high. Houthi attacks are now putting Saudi Arabia's defenses to another major test as the kingdom prepares for the possibility of more strikes from Iran-backed forces. The bloodshed in Marib could threaten the fragile momentum behind regional diplomacy and create a major new security challenge for Riyadh and its allies. Saudi Arabia moved quickly to calm Iran after Tehran openly mocked Riyadh's brand new 3-way defense pact. On August 7th, Saudi Arabia clarified that this new defense pact carries absolutely no nuclear or hidden military agenda. Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister Raid Krimli stressed that this agreement poses no threat to any single country in the region. This landmark pact was formally signed by Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan, aiming to jointly build stronger defense capabilities together. Krimli further clarified that the agreement was never designed to function as a military axis or any kind of sectarian bloc. These Saudi remarks came directly after Iranian MP Ibrahim Razoui sharply criticized this newly signed defense agreement. Ibrahim Razoui, a member of Iran's Parliamentary National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, reacted on August 7th after Saudi Arabia signed the new defense agreement with Turkey and Pakistan in Mecca. Razoui posted his response on X, directly criticizing the newly signed Mecca Joint Deterrence Agreement and warning Riyadh not to mistake new partners for guaranteed protection. Ibrahim Razoui said, and I quote, "Saudis must know that a paper agreement with Turkey and Pakistan will not bring them security. Just as years of one-sided nursing to the Americans did not bring them security. Reform your policies so that you do not need to beg for security from others." End quote. Iran's warning comes at a time of growing security concerns for Saudi Arabia, as conflict in the Gulf and Red Sea increases the risks facing the kingdom's cities, infrastructure, and energy export routes. Earlier in the regional conflict, Iran launched attacks against Saudi-linked targets using drones and missiles, presenting them as retaliation against states it accused of facilitating U.S. military operations. Tehran has argued that any country providing territory, facilities, or practical support for U.S. action against Iran could be treated as part of the confrontation and therefore exposed to retaliation. While Iran has not recently claimed direct strikes against Saudi Arabia, Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement has continued attacks and threats against Saudi-linked vessels, ports, and oil infrastructure. The Houthis declared a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia after Saudi strikes on Houthi-held Yemen, saying Saudi-connected ships and vessels using Saudi Red Sea ports could be targeted. The Houthi blockade and wider Iran war have put Saudi oil export routes under major pressure, threatening to reduce flows through the Red Sea and creating new uncertainty for Riyadh's energy revenues and global markets. Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a mutual defense agreement in Mecca on August 7, bringing their leaders together amid heightened regional turmoil and security concerns across the Gulf. The pact unites three major Sunni Muslim powers that each retain important, though very different, relationships with the United States, combining Saudi financial influence, Turkish military-industrial capacity, and Pakistan's armed forces. Notably, none of the three states maintains full diplomatic relations with Israel, creating a rare security grouping of U.S.-linked powers that remains politically separate from Washington's closest Middle Eastern partner. Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia signed the deal amid a widening Gulf crisis, with regional states facing attacks, threats, and growing uncertainty following the confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel. Turkey brings NATO's second-largest military by personnel. Saudi Arabia contributes immense Gulf influence and defense spending, while Pakistan adds a battle-tested military and the only nuclear arsenal in the Muslim world. Riyadh has been seeking to deepen security cooperation with key partners as it looks for stronger deterrence and more reliable regional arrangements beyond traditional dependence on Washington. At the same time, Saudi Arabia has raised alarm over growing regional threats from Iran-aligned groups, particularly as maritime, missile, and drone risks have increased across the Gulf and Red Sea. However, the full text and operational details of the agreement were not immediately released, leaving open major questions about joint command, deployment obligations, intelligence sharing, and the exact meaning of mutual defense. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan already signed a mutual defense pact in September 2025, stating that aggression against one country would be treated as an attack against both, making Turkey's inclusion a potentially major expansion. Pakistan has provided training, advisory support, and technical military assistance to Saudi Arabia for decades, creating an established defense relationship that the 2025 pact and new Trilateral deal now deepen. Pakistan has reportedly deployed around 8,000 troops, a fighter squadron, drone units, and a Chinese-made HQ-9 air defense system to Saudi Arabia under its mutual defense arrangement with Riyadh. Turkey and Pakistan have built extensive defense ties through training, naval cooperation, aviation exchanges, weapons development, and joint exercises, giving the new framework a base of existing military interoperability. Saudi Arabia agreed to purchase Turkish Bayraktar drones in a deal described as Turkey's largest defense and aviation export contract, with technology transfer and joint production also included. Turkey's possible return to the F-35 program is another major development Israel will monitor, although Washington has not made a final decision and U.S. law still requires Ankara to meet conditions related to its Russian S-400 system. The reported deal would open the door for Turkey to procure F-35A jets from the United States.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.